Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us for our Tuesday update for September the 19th. There's a lot of weather on the way for New Zealand and Australia. We've got hotter weather for the next couple of days, windier weather back in the mix, and then a colder change and some rain coming for New Zealand, including the dry east coast of the North Island. Let's get into it. On today's animated wind map, we've put the temperatures in there so you can see the blue coming off Antarctica below zero there. Here is the low pressure zone. That's the main driver for our weather for the next few days ahead. That's why we focused the screen onto that storm. And then up here in Australia, behind the Welcome to Tuesday sign, the orange shading showing temperatures over 30 degrees today. So more very hot weather moving in across Australia. And then, of course, this northwesterly takes it into New Zealand. New Zealand's normally about 10 degrees cooler on our east coast to Australia. So if Australia hits 40, we often get to 30. They're going into the late 30s for parts of New South Wales. So late 20s possible for New Zealand over the coming days. So here's the departure from normal temperature map. Today's map's here. So you can see in this dark shading, that's over 8 degrees above normal for this time of the year. And that includes Sydney and Canberra and Melbourne as well, all in that warmer setup. New Zealand's also quite warm, not as hot above normal, but still a few to several degrees above average. Now tomorrow, that cooler change moves into Australia. So temperatures reset to normal in the south there, but still pretty hot around Sydney and Canberra northwards. And look at New Zealand, now that dark shading, 8 degrees above average in that darker shading for places like Invercargill, Dunedin, Alexandra, Christchurch, and then in the North Island, places like Taupō and over towards Wairoa along the Hawke's Bay coastline there. So hot nor'westers coming in, and that's ahead of a cold front and rain. So here we are, the rain map here showing in the bright blue, 250 millimetres for the next 3 days, kicking in on the west coast. So a proper wet setup. Now for Southland, you've got that rainbow effect where the further you move away from Fiordland and the closer you get to Otago, the lower the rainfall totals will be, or should I say coastal Otago. So Dunedin here, you're only talking about 15 to 20 millimetres for the next 3 days. You move right over to the western side of Southland and you're talking about maybe 80, 90 millimetres. So go to ruralweather.co.nz. Please keep up to date with your local rainfall totals, and just a couple of showers for the North Island. The proper rain arrives at the weekend. In Australia, pretty dry around most of the country, but a few showers down here, again on the west coast of Tasmania, where you've got around about 40 to maybe 60 millimetres coming through for you over the next few days. So let's get into the forecast. Here we are on Wednesday, high pressure over the North Island, dry, sunny, calm in many places, but the wind still a bit brisk around Cook Strait, and those winds get stronger the further south you go thanks to that storm down here. And that same storm sending up that cooler airflow, temperatures being reset at some point across Wednesday as you move in across the day as that southerly change moves through. Now we've got windy weather later on Wednesday afternoon for New Zealand. This area here with the pink and purple shading, anywhere between 100 and 140 kilometres an hour, big gusts once again coming through. This is more squashed to the lower part of New Zealand rather than the lower North Island like the other day, but again, pretty blustery conditions through there, calmest weather around the top of the North Island. Going through to Thursday, that windy weather moves up in towards sort of the top half of the South Island and the lower portion of the North Island across the day. Mild winds from the subtropics or from Australia, take your pick. Either way, it's warm. But behind that front, there's the heavy rain and some spillover into Southland. That's the temperature drop that you're seeing over here as well. So by Friday, cooler airflow is moving right up the eastern side of Australia. Goodbye to the 30-something degree temperatures, back to normal or even slightly below normal for some of you. And on the New Zealand side, still warm on Friday, especially along the eastern side of the North Island and the upper South Island, but a cooler airflow getting into the mix due to that low pressure zone, which on Saturday kind of falls apart. It gets pushed northwards and it's stuck between these two big highs, one to the east, one to the west. And so this pretty limited situation there, stuck between those two big systems. And you get through to Sunday, it finally moves away. The low just gets squeezed to the north and falls apart. And in comes that next big high out of Australia. So again, more very hot weather coming back for Adelaide by Sunday, but a bit more settled for you here with that high pressure zone on Sunday, but around New Zealand, unsettled and much cooler for the South Island and up towards the lower North Island on Sunday due to that more southerly airflow. There we go, typical spring weather, and of course the equinox this Saturday. So by Sunday, technically, the days become longer than the nights, on the way to summer. That's all from me. Don't forget, we've got a Pacific Islands video out today if you want to see what's going on for the next 7 days right around the Pacific, including Hawaii. We've got that video out a little bit later on this afternoon. Otherwise, we will see you again tomorrow, Wednesday, with our next New Zealand and Australia update. We'll see you then.